So here I want to do a video about Unity Audio. This is a very intro level video again, but I think it's good for people to know what it's capable of. So anyway, let's jump over to Unity. This is the game for my class again. It's got a lot of different sound effects and music that plays throughout the game, but it's meant to be a game that's played by students in class. So we wanted to make sure we had a way to adjust the volume. So I'm going to play it here first. Hopefully you'll be able to hear it. So that's the music, and then if you press a button like settings, hear it sort of beep. If you go back, same beep. So you want to be able to adjust those volumes, right? So what we have here is master music and sound effects. So if I adjust the sound effects all the way down, for instance, so there's music all the way down. My sound effects. So let's look at that and see what's going on there. And then master volume, you can hear the music go down. And then if I go back, you don't hear any button click. Now I don't know why. Let's go back and do that again. Okay, so it's not it. So let's go turn that up, turn music down. Turn sound effects down. All right, so we don't have something tied up correctly to the sound effects. So let's see if we can figure it out. Okay, so what I did is I set up, here, I can stop this. So I dropped all the audio clips in here and set up an audio mixer. So the way you do that is you just right click in here, create audio mixer. And then you'll get this little file. You can set it up however you wish. So what I'm gonna do is delete that because I've already set it up. So when you have the audio mixer added here and created, an audio mixer tab will be available. And so you can click on that guy here, and then you can add groups. So you'll have a master in there by default. You can rename it to whatever you want, of course. A lot of people use main or something like that instead, which I love. But I created 2 subgroups underneath this, so you can add child groups, whatever you want. Don't need that one really. And then you end up with music and effects. And then you get these little items over here for master music and effects, but you need to expose those parameters for volume. They have lots of different parameters, but you want to get those. So once you have those created, those groups, underneath your audio mixer in the project, you'll see master music and SFX and snapshot. If you right click master here, in inspector, there we go. And then you go to volume, you can right click it and you can expose it. So if I unexpose it, it'll turn it off again, but this would say expose when you first come in here. And then you'll get this little arrow that appears next to it, letting you know that it's exposed. And you'll do that for each of the groups. And then you'll come back to the audio mixer, and under exposed parameters, you'll have 3 parameters in here, which I would encourage you to rename. So I call them master volume, music volume, SFX volume. So once you have your audio mixer set up that way, you're off to a pretty good start. That stuff all looks pretty good. So now you've got, oops, go to your inspector here. You've got all these guys set up. Now you've got to make sure that you're setting up your code. So let's go down here to settings controller first. Okay, so I'm going to kind of quickly go through this and I'll blow it up quite a bit. So getting my UXML document here, getting my back buttons, you can ignore that. And then I'll go through Audio Manager here shortly, but I can get each of my slider controls and I call setup slider for each of those. And then I register changed events. So of course, in on disable, I register those. So again, ignore the back button, but let's get down here to setup slider. So for each of the sliders, it sets the low value to 0, the high value to 1, and sets the current value, right, of whatever I'm passing in, which up here is the master volume, SFX volume, and music volume, which again, we'll look at in Audio Manager. It'll set that value here, but we do it without notifying the slider, so we don't end up with that firing one of the changed events, and maybe we get into some kind of a loop or whatever weird behavior. We don't want to do that. And then for each of the changed events, they all look very similar here. We make sure the audio manager, which is a singleton class we'll see, make sure that its instance is not null, so that we can set that master volume, music, or SFX to whatever the slider's value is. So this settings controller is pretty basic, nothing super fancy there. Audio Manager, on the other hand, quite a bit more code. And again, we'll go through it kind of quickly. So I set up an enum here for each of my different audio clips. I set up a class here that will basically take one of those enums and the audio clip, and I made it serializable. So in the Unity editor, you can actually add these as a audio designer. You say, hey, I got a new clip. I'm just going to drag it in, and now the audio manager will be able to use it. So that's pretty easy. Okay, so now the meat of it. So inside the audio manager, we first make sure we have an audio source. Like I said, I did set it up as a singleton. These are just key names, constants that we can have pointing to the master volume and music SX volumes, as well as the keys in our player prefs, which is where we'll be saving our audio settings. So you've got a default volume of 1, so all the way up, and then we set the decibel levels for the mixer. Here's where you can assign the mixer and the mixer groups. The audio clip for background music. Right now we just have the one background music. If you had others, this might get a little more complicated, but we just have the one, and we play it right on start. Then we have a couple of lists here and a dictionary of those SFX entries and the audio clips. So you can add in all those different audio as you get them from your audio team. All right. And then this just exposes the master music SFX volumes from player prefs. So as your settings controller is asking, hey, what is the setting for that slider, then this is where it's getting that from. All right, and then not a lot happening in Awake here. Again, setting up the music source, making sure none of our SFX are playing on Awake, that kind of stuff. So that looks pretty good. And then let's see, we start playing the background music right away. Here we apply the saved volumes. So we'll see that method here shortly. We'll come back to that. And then this is just a validation method, making sure that everything we have in there makes sense. And we don't have any duplicate SFX entries, so nothing crazy there. Okay, then on build SFX lookup, that was called up here at the end of the awake. So, whoops, too far. There we go. We clear all the clips out, and then we go through all of our entries in that list and make sure we're populating, if they have a clip, if they're not null, etc. And then we add that to our SFX clips. So we have a dictionary of those. And then this method is called by any of the screens, right? Other UI controllers, if you will, that you just call play SFX, and then you give it the enum type of the clip you want to play. So there's that. I don't love that you have to go create an enum for this. I love enums in here, but every time you'd add like a designer added audio, you'd have to probably come in here and create another enum. I might play with that, but for now, that's how it's set up. Let's see, we could just do strings probably, but that leads to other problems. So we'll think through that. So plain SFX, just all it does is say, hey, go get me the value from the dictionary with that enum type. And if it's found, then play that one-shot clip, right? And then down here in try play SFX. So notice this is like a play SFX public void here, where you can call that from the instance. This is a try play that you could call static. It calls play SFX the same way. So that's that. And then play background music, we kind of talked through. Nothing crazy there. It's just playing on a loop on awake. All right, so let's get back down here. So every time so these set master volume, set music, etc., these are called, if you remember, when you call the apply save volumes method. So each one of these gets called to set that at the initial state. So we go back up there real quick. There goes slow. So on start, we apply any of the saved volumes here first, right? And then we set those at the mixer level. So down here on the audio mixer, we go grab those and we set the dB value to that linear value of the decibels we assigned at the beginning. So this is doing that math here. So if the linear value is less than this, super tiny number, then give it the minimum decibels. Otherwise, do a clamp on this with a log, so you're converting the decibels basically to whatever we had in there for max decibels. I think it was 80 or something like that. Anyway, okay, so that's the big code there, and let's see. So that all looks fine here. Okay, so let's go back to Unity, and let's see if I set this guy up correctly. So we've got our SFX group, music, fashion. Each of those falls in here. So that all looks pretty good. I wonder why. Oh, wait, I bet. No, you can't do that. So it should be setting that. Huh. All right, let me. That's fine. Let me try it one more time. Maybe it was just a weird settings. We have, so you remembered our player prefs, right? So SFX is all the way down, music is all the way down, but we're still hearing button. So master affects it, but SFX does not. Interesting. And it looks like we have the SFX audio mixer added correctly at runtime here. So that all looks good. Won't be anything there. All right, well, I'll have to debug that, I guess. Audio parameter. It's not found. Oh, wait. Wait. Is that the problem? Come back. Oops, didn't mean to do that. Audio mixer. That looks fine. Where's our SFX volume? SFX volume. Let's see here. I think that's the problem. The game from running. And make sure I save that. That compile. Play it again. Hey, make that a little quieter. So now you hear it a little bit. Turn it all the way up. Hear it a little bit more. Turn it all the way back down. Nothing. Hey, we got it fixed. So that's good. I probably should sync these sliders so that, like, if master's down, it pulls these down. There's some stuff we could do there. So yeah, it's still quiet. So perfect. Okay. Well, hopefully it gives you an idea of how you can use Audio Mixer in Unity and a little bit on how to debug it. So watch your typos, and I will catch all of you later. Thank you very much.